All right, let's get right into it. Think of this as a critical briefing. We're here to talk about a pattern, a recurring failure that's grinding our most important work to a halt. It's time to open the case file on what we're calling the jagged shadow in the hangar. This one sentence, right here, is the key to this whole thing. It perfectly captures the tension between the messy reality of innovation and our organization's deep desire for perfect, predictable safety. If you can understand this quote, you'll understand exactly why we're stuck. For months now, we've been running around putting out fires, chasing these individual, unexpected failures. But that's just treating the symptoms, right? It doesn't get to the disease. So what if these aren't just a bunch of random, isolated incidents? What if they're all connected, all pointing to one single root cause deep within our culture? That's the mystery we have to solve. So let's start where any investigation does, at the crime scene. And I'm using that word crime on purpose because something essential to this company is being systematically killed off. And that something is progress. Just look around. The evidence is everywhere, isn't it? Our most ambitious projects are just stalling. People are actively sidestepping high-risk innovation, the very thing we need to grow. There's this culture of fear, and it's paralyzing us. And let me be perfectly clear about this. This isn't a money problem. It's not a talent problem. The problem is psychological. It's coming from inside the house. Every good investigation needs a suspect, a person of interest. Well, our first suspect isn't a person. It's more of an idea, really. An unseen saboteur that embodies the very idea of unpredictable failure. Let's build a profile. We're calling this force the gremlin. Look, in any complex system, things are going to go wrong. It's just a fact. The gremlin is simply the name we give to that inevitable, unpredictable failure. But here's what's so fascinating about it. It serves two purposes. It's not just some funny mascot for when things break. It's actually a really clever psychological shield. It lets a team point the finger at the ghost in the machine instead of at each other. By doing that, they get to keep their sense of agency, of control, even when things go haywire. And no, this isn't some new age management theory. The whole idea of the gremlin goes way back. It started with the Royal Air Force in 1929 and was really battle-tested in the pressure cookers of World War II. Pilots needed a way to cope with the fact that their machines could fail at any second. And today, that same ghost in the machine haunts every single complex piece of tech we create. So here's the big takeaway. The gremlin itself isn't the problem. Its appearance is a signal. It's the smoking gun that tells you, hey, your people or your systems are being pushed way too hard. It's a warning that our own arrogance, our belief that we can control everything, has pushed us past the breaking point. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. This is the choice we have to make. On one side, you've got a blame culture. Failure happens and we find someone to pin it on. That creates shame, people start hiding mistakes, and pretty soon, nobody wants to take a risk. On the other side, you acknowledge the gremlin. Suddenly, failure isn't about one person's incompetence. It's a shared challenge, a puzzle for the whole team to solve. It becomes a chance to learn, and it gives everyone back their sense of control. Okay, so if the gremlin is just a symptom, then who's the real culprit here? Let's turn to our second profile. This is the force inside our own organization that, in its obsessive quest for safety, is actually making disaster more likely. Let's call this one the architect of safety. Now, the last man isn't an actual person. It's a mindset. It's a type of culture that values comfort and absolute certainty over everything else. And to get that certainty, it builds what our source material calls a gilded cage, this huge, suffocating maze of rules and processes, all designed to squeeze every last bit of risk out of the system. And the promise of the last man is so tempting, isn't it? A perfect world where nothing ever goes wrong, where every gear just clicks into place. But it's an illusion. It's a fragile silver mirror that is absolutely guaranteed to crack. Because the real world, that mechanical void, is messy and unpredictable. So this entire mindset, it runs on something called the logic of zero, and it's exactly what it sounds like. First, zero unquantifiable variables. If you can't put it in a spreadsheet, it basically doesn't exist. Second, zero tolerance for error. None. And that means there's absolutely zero room for the unexpected, for that gremlin to show up. And what's the ultimate promise here? It's not progress. It's not innovation. It's stagnant security. So now we have our two main characters. We've got the gremlin, which represents the chaos you can't control, and the last man who demands absolute order. You can probably see where this is going. A collision is absolutely inevitable. So let's watch it happen.
So, it all starts with the last man's creation, this beautiful system, engineered for absolute perfection. There's no fat, no wiggle room for anything that wasn't planned for.
But a system that has no flexibility, that has zero tolerance for mistakes, well, by its very definition, that system is incredibly brittle. It has no shock absorbers. And it's only a matter of time, right? The uncanny, the gremlin, that one variable you didn't and couldn't account for, it always shows up. And when it does, that rigid, perfectly designed system can't bend. It can't adapt. It just shatters. The whole gilded cage comes crashing down. And what's left in the wreckage? The ghost that haunts those ruins has a name. It's called the Emerald Phantasm. This isn't just a simple failure. This is a complete systemic collapse, and it was born from the pure hubris of thinking you could control everything. It is the literal ghost of unintended consequences. It's the very definition of stagnation. So after all this, what's the verdict? And maybe more importantly, what do we as leaders do about it? It really comes down to a simple choice. Are we going to be haunted by our failures, or are we going to learn to fly with them? The verdict couldn't be clearer. The gremlin, that unpredictable failure, is not the enemy of progress. As a matter of fact, it's a necessary part of it. The real villain of this story, the root cause of our stagnation, is that fear-based, risk-averse mindset of the last man. This really puts a fundamental choice in front of us as leaders. Do we want to be the last man hiding in our gilded cage, seeking that stagnant security? Or do we want to be what the source calls the overman, a leader who doesn't run from challenge, but actually thrives on it? This kind of leader uses the logic of the crucible, this idea that extreme pressure and even failure aren't things to be avoided. They are the very things that forge strength and create real progress out of all that chaos. So here's the game plan, the protocol. It's 4 steps. First, we have to just admit it, openly. Gremlins are real. They exist in any project worth doing. Second, we have to consciously and actively reject the false security of that gilded cage. Third, we have to change how we think about failure, transform it from something shameful into a source of knowledge and power. And finally, we have to find our way back to actually making progress inside the mess, inside the necessary chaos of true innovation. Look, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. You can't banish the ghosts from your machine. It's impossible. They will always be there. So the only real question, the one we have to answer, is this. Are we going to let those ghosts haunt us, keeping us paralyzed with fear? Or are we finally going to learn how to fly with them?